This is the guitar that I've pulled from a pile of junk. I'm going to build this guitar to be an anniversary model for my brother's 50th birthday. He's here in a few weeks, and this thing is cursed. I mean, cursed like the heebie-jeebies curse. Can I overcome this? Well, honestly, I am not sure. But anyway, I'm going to give it a red-hot crack. And here it is once I have removed the digital printed top and reshaped it into an offset Strat shape, a little bit like the Blazer and Roadster, my favourite guitars, so why the hell not. Scuffing up this pickguard, getting it ready to age. There you go, a little bit of stain. I tried the turmeric thing, didn't really work for me, so I ended up using wood stain and it worked perfectly. Yes, I am doing a black volume knob. Good reason for that. Reshaping the headstock, so I hacked it off, put some dowel in, and glued on some extra timber. This is just a piece of timber that I had laying around. It's going to do the trick just nicely. High build primer. Then having a look at whether I do it the lighter blue or the original idea for the brighter blue. I decide the brighter blue it is. I think I'm going to do an episode on paint choices because I seem to struggle with it a little bit, so we'll see. Here I'm just lining up everything because I need to take a little bit off the front of that pickguard to make the neck and the body cavities and everything all work, because it's actually a bit of a parts caster, so I'm not 100% sure where everything came from. Here's my rough cut on the headstock. Still a fair bit of work to do, and there it is, all nicely sanded out, lined up. Yes, the timber's not what you want it to be. It is a piece of scrap I had laying around, but for what we're doing, works just right. Pretty sure the heebie-jeebies are creeping in at this point. There's the base coat. I was really happy at this point. Still makes me wonder whether I was right about the paint or not. Just cleaning up some of the edges. These pickups, so what I did here was I actually ended up rewiring them with some vintage cloth wiring. And I also later on I knocked the magnets out and put in some Alnico 5s and stagger them. Gives them a little bit more of a vintage sound. It's pretty cool actually. And yep, this guitar got the full works. Shielding, custom wiring. I've popped in a coil split on that black volume, so you can pop that black volume up, split that humbucker into a single. I've also included a neck pickup switch, which turns neck pickup on, and a kill switch. It's not there now, but you can see it sitting on the desk. It does eventually go in. And everyone's favourite, wet sanding and polishing. Just filling in the old screws from the machine heads. I've got some nice new Grovers that'll go on this that I've had sitting away for a while. Here's that operation I was talking about. So pop off those old ceramic magnets, scrape some of the crap off, and then I push those pole pieces out. Here I'm using a hammer. Don't do this. Do not do this. Like I said, don't do this. You can do this if you've got plastic bobbins that have got the plastic molded through them. If you've got nice pickups, just leave them alone, because if you knock out the pole pieces in a nice pickup, you end up shorting all your coils. So the 12th fret marker on this guitar was uneven. They were kind of weird and looked wonky-eyed, so I decided that I'd replace them with some custom stuff. So I used a lollipop stick, some heat shrink, and some silver solder. Made my own lollies. Actually come up pretty cool. I was pretty happy with these. So after colour sanding that paint, I decided to put my decal on. I've done a pretty cool decal here. It's got my brother's name on it in the fender writing. Then it's got 50th anniversary model. And then I've put a patent applied for with his birth date on it. Thought that was a bit cheeky, but it's pretty cool. I'm not sanding the decal there. That was sanding after a couple of coats of gloss. Again with the polishing. Well, one would think it looked pretty cool. I was pretty happy with it. So I'm just going to cut in here for a second and give you a quick update. This thing is fighting me like you would not believe. I sprayed it about probably close to 3 weeks ago now, and the paint's just not curing. We live in a pretty humid place, and unless you do it super thin, it just never dries. Sometimes things just don't go right, man. This guitar is fighting back really hard. I've had to rewire it a couple of times because it just wasn't quite doing what I wanted it to do. The single coils are reverse polarity, but I hadn't switched the wiring. So I was getting an out of phase thing going on, which wasn't the sound I was after. But yeah, the wiring's good now, and it sounds great. It's fun to play. So the only problem that I've got now is this paint. I did 3 very, very light coats of varnish lacquer, but it won't cure. Maybe I put one of those coats on a little bit too thick, and it's just not curing. It's been 3 weeks now, and I can still put fingernail marks in it. My only option now really is to use 2K and let it chemically cure, and that should cure in about 24 hours. So I've got to sand this all the way back. Sometimes you can think that your clear coat's soft, but it's actually the base coat underneath. I'm pretty sure that's not the case here. Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Only 2 weeks before he gets here, and I want to have this buttoned up so it can sit strung up and sit with tension on it for a good week or so. Let's see if we can get this right. Let's get at it. Back again, taking her apart, and I dropped it and put a ding in the back of the neck. So as beautiful as this neck was, I'm going to have to redo that too. Well, my clear coat was good, and my base coat was good. My undercoat, that sucked ass cheese. What can we learn from this? Well, there's a lot of painting guides on YouTube, and a lot of it's geared at your base coat and your clear coat. No one really talks about the undercoat that much. I used a high build primer. Now, high build primer doesn't actually mean lather the shit out of it and try and hide everything with a super thick coat and then sand it smooth. It actually means do a thin coat, sand it, another thin coat, sand it, another thin coat, sand it, and keep building on that to high build it. Well, I done fucked up, didn't I? Is what it is. Fuck it. So while I was waiting for yet another coat of paint to dry, I decided I'd move on to putting on these Grover tuning machines. You can see on the back of the headstock there, it does say happy 50th birthday. Later on, because this guitar is cursed, I ended up sanding the H off the happy, and now it says happy birthday. I honestly don't know how that happened, but like I said, cursed to bejesus. You see, every time I touched this guitar from that point on, something went wrong. I'd either pick it up to do a small job and end up making something worse by just knocking it on something or scratching it or doing something weird. I just couldn't get this thing to play nice. Finally, after some new paint, she starts to look pretty good. Redoing the bits of shielding that I had to take out. And now it's time to put her together. That 2K paint actually came up pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. I haven't finished the relicing yet on it, as you can see, but I was pretty excited to get this thing back together. You can see there my wiring job's all done. I've got those Alnico 5 magnets in place. It was during this where things kept going wrong and I was starting to get a bit scared of this guitar. I swear I've never worked on a guitar that has given me so much pushback and so much grief to the point where I was getting a little bit afraid of it, afraid to even touch it, if that's a thing. Anyway, is what it is. I thought the best thing to do was let my son help me put the final touches on it. At least the heebie-jeebies will stay away.
So they're making like a craft thing. They need cardboard, they just go like that, and then they pause it and then go snip, 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 and then it's kapow. Or sometimes they go. There's ones for the staff. You know how when you're playing music, there's the staff. Yeah, they're on the lines is either every good boy deserves fruit or evacuate garage before dad farts.
So after praying to the Indian gods and some other questionable gods and doing this weird Mexican dance, I decided it's time to bring in the big guns.
Power of voodoo.
Well, with Glenn being number 4 of 5 and me being number 5 of 5, making me the youngest, by the way, here's number 2 of 5 to bless this cursed thing. Hey Bert, like I said, I got this guitar, man, and I've been building it for Glenn, and it's got the heebie-jeebies big time, bro. Almost every time I've touched it to do something to it, something's gone wrong with it. Well, I need your help, man, because I need you to give it a good blessing for me before I give it to him, because I don't want to give him a guitar that's cursed.
So you need to hold it
while
I'm doing the cutter here.
Yep.
Hopefully that blood connection that you and I have will do some kind of transference.
Cool, man, sounds good. I need to record with this today, but I don't want to play it, because I am a little bit scared of it.
Alright. Nō reira ko te mea tuatai tēnei te mihi ki ngā tūpuna, no ngā tūpuna i tuku tēnei tikanga hei whakawairea tēnei taonga, mai te mahi o tēnei tohunga a whiu, nāna i whakapainga tēnei raku mō te tuakana a Glenn. Nō reira, me karakia tēnei, hei whakapainga tēnei taonga, hei whakawairea tēnei raku. Wairea te rungi e tū nei, wairea te papa e tākoto nei. Wairea ngā kōrero, ngā wāranga wairea. Wairea tēnei papa, wairea tēnei whaitua. Wairea tēnei whenua, wairea tēnei takiwai. Wairea. Kia wātea ai tēnei raku me ona tapu ona ihi ona wehi. Kia puta ai tēnei raku ki te whaia o ki te ao mārama. Uia, wairea. Wairea ki uta, wairea ki tai, wairea ki te one tapu. Ka hura tangata ki a tai me tūraki atu ki tangata uta. Ka hura tangata uta me tūraki atu ki tangata a tai. Pērā hukira he koripe nui, he koripe mau tama i te rāia. Whakamau tama i te rāia ko tū, ko rongo, ko tama i a raka. Kau akara e tama e uhira tū, ko e tama ki a puta ki te ao tā whanga he pūtanga are ki no rongo ki te ata tauira mai e te tupua, mai e te tāwhito. E hara mai koe te tūwhako o te nuku e te tūwhako o te rangi. Ki o koutou manoa, ki o mātou manoa ko tāni kauri hia. Whāno, hara mai te toki o haumi e hui e i tāi ki e. Tapa tū ki te rangi whakaea kauana. Kei rungi i te kōti pū, kei raro i te kōti hono. Kei kōna koutou mihi mai tangi mai ai ka mau te hono. Whiti tua, whiti ararāne a tarangi e tū i honei te papa e tākoto nei. Ngā tūpuna whari e tūtū nei e pupuri nei ngā ihi mana tapu o tāwhito nuku o tāwhito rangi. O koutou manoa ki o mātou manoa ko tāni kauri hia. Whāno, hara mai te toki haumi e hui e i tāi ki e. Tēnei te ara te aro rangi nui e tū nei te aro papatūnuku e tā tākoto nei. Te arorangi rā o ka papa e tākoto nei. Nā rau te tapo ai o tāni ki raro haere te pō tēnei te ata. Ti hei mauri tū ki runga. Tūruki, tūruki, paneke, paneke. Tūruki, paneke, paneke. Haramai te toki, haumi e hui e, taiki e.